Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope everyone is having a good time so far. The biggest thing is when New Year comes around, everyone wants to get leaner, set new goals, and most commonly, we all tend to go back to the same strategies of, let me cut back food, let me do more cardio, let me hit the gym, and it's all great and it definitely works, but I want to just talk about 5 strategies and maybe attitudes that would be something to try differently for this year, so that your results can actually stay, and then next year you're not making the same resolutions of dropping the same weight, and you could look at something more progressive. So number one, and this is very critical, because I find the biggest thing is everyone starts focusing on what to cut out. Let me cut this out, let me reduce this, and which is great, and there are foods that need to, you need to do that. But I think it's causing more issues than not. What's happening is, we need to start focusing on what do we eat, what are the nutrients you're deficient in. Versus looking at, let me cut this out, let me cut that out, because all I'm seeing is a lot of people are starting to develop a lot more health issues because of that, because they're under eating, they're undernourished, and it's developing a bad relationship with food. Carbs are being dreaded, and carbs are bad, or fats are bad. Too much protein will do this to me, and I don't want to get bulky, and unfortunately that's what's happening when people are focusing so much on, let me cut this out. And let me cut that out. At some point, there's not going to be anything to cut back. So instead, what I encourage you to do is look at what are things that you're deficient in. Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough greens? Are you getting a variety of greens? What are nutrients that you're deficient in? Are you eating enough fats? Do you need those fats to make hormones? You need every nutrient has its function. Something like magnesium, which all of us are deficient in. It controls 300 functions in your body. Good morning, Bill. What's up, buddy? I just had lovely ground sirloin this morning, so thank you so much for that. Going back to, like I said, focusing on what are things that you are deficient in, and focusing on addressing that, introducing those foods in there, rather than just thinking of, let me cut this out and let me cut that out, right? So, that's number one. Now, going back to, like I said, cutting foods out. Yes, there are certain foods that need to be cut out. And I want you to start thinking in terms of inflammation. Go do your research. Go talk to someone who specializes in inflammation and gut health and leaky gut. And that is the number one health issue right now, okay, besides insulin dysfunction. But inflammation is the cause of, you name it, every single ailment that is out there is caused by inflammation. The more acidic you are, the more health issues you're going to have, and that includes everything from osteoporosis to cancer. Okay, cancer cannot survive in an alkaline environment. So the more acidic you are, the more inflammation you have, the higher risk you're at. Okay, so I want you to start looking at, in terms of inflammation, what are foods that cause inflammation? The most common ones are wheat, dairy, corn, soy, and sugar. And then you can look at preservatives, colors, dyes, things like that. Now, besides that, you could be sensitive to any food. It could be the healthiest food on the planet. You could be sensitive to avocados. You could be sensitive to broccoli. The best thing to do is do a blood scan. Okay, do a food sensitivity scan and find out. Okay, we do that at our studio. We give you the kit. You get the blood test done at a lab, and the results are sent to you within 3 weeks. So, very critical, because there could be foods that you don't know are hurting your system and they're damaging your gut. Okay, and you could lose weight, but if you have inflammation in your system, I promise you the weight's coming back. But not just that, you're going to still have issues with sleep. You're still going to have issues with digestion, especially. You're going to have issues with bloating. You're going to have issues with brain function, focus, memory, moods, skin, hair, nails, eyes, you name it. Okay, so let's start looking at it that way. Let's not just look at it as weight loss and fat loss. Let's look at it as health. If your system is healthy, you will not have the excessive fat to drop. Okay, so number one, let's start looking at nutrients that you're deficient in and address those instead of focusing on so much on cutting foods out. Number two, we have to replace certain foods so that cause inflammation. So think inflammation, number one, okay? Hey Georgia, we're working on that, buddy. Number three is, let's look at training, okay? Number one thing most people think about when they want to get leaner is cardio. Okay, let me go do cardio 5 days a week. Let me do 2 sessions of cardio. And that's good, but focus more on weight training. Prioritize your weight training. There is a misconception that weight training cannot get your waist leaner. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. If you look at any of the transformations that we have at Be Elite, majority of them are done with minimal cardio. Just enough to stimulate fat loss, but that's not what we depend on. We depend on the weight training, we depend on nutrition. Okay, so if you look at any of the before and afters that we post, majority of them are done with, I would say, at least 80 to 90% of weight training and about 10 to 20% of cardio. But of course, nutrition is a big part of it. So focus more on your resistance training. You know, when you're slowing down in terms of your results, look at what can you change with your resistance training rather than, okay, let me go increase my cardio. Okay, and at some point you may have to increase cardio, but don't make that your priority. Okay. Number 4, and this is probably the most overlooked and underrated factor in fat loss and health, is your sleep. Okay, we just don't give enough importance to sleep, and I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, and it's up on my blogs on the website beelite.ca. You know, look at things like going to bed by 10:30, right? Which means, yeah, if you want, you could wake up at 4 a.m. and still get work done. But, you know, even try that. Try maybe 3 days out of the week, go to bed by 10, right? Which means by 9, so about an hour before, you want to start shutting down all the electronics, okay? Turn electronics off, you know, don't be in front of the TV. Start working on those things, okay? But prioritize your sleep. Take your magnesium. Take melatonin if your brain chemistry requires you to take melatonin. Not everyone needs melatonin. Okay, some people may need taurine, some people may need valerian root, and that is something you have to find out based on your brain chemistry, and that's one of the tests we do at Be Elite, is figure out what your brain chemistry is, how are you geared, what are your neurotransmitters geared towards, but regardless, focus on sleep, prioritize your sleep, okay? And lastly is looking at, you know, what are you doing to relax your nervous system? We're always on the go, we're always trying to train, we always do things that expend a lot of energy from us, but we don't do enough to actually recycle that energy. And, you know, we don't do things that calm the nervous system down. We're always doing things that stimulate the nervous system. So focus on, you know, pick something that you enjoy, pick something that resonates with you, whether it's meditation at night, whether it's Qigong, whether it's yoga, you know, get massage therapy done, get fascial stretch therapy done, you know, get some form of treatment, do Epsom salt baths every night, you know, read some non-fiction or, you know, anything that you enjoy, even coloring books. Actually, I have a couple of clients who use coloring books, and it keeps them in the moment. They're coloring, they're focused. It actually stimulates your right nervous system, which releases the serotonin that you need to go to sleep. So, to recap, 5 things I'd like you guys to try in the new year to get better results and consistent results is, number 1, focus on nutrient deficiencies. Focus on things that you're deficient in and introduce those foods and nutrients into your nutrition plan. Number 2, think inflammation, okay? Learn about inflammation, find out what causes inflammation. If you want to have a talk with any of us, Ken, myself, feel free, message us. We can set up a consultation and look at inflammation and what is causing inflammation in your system. Number 3, focus on resistance training rather than cardiovascular training. Number 4, prioritize your sleep and sleep quality. And number 5, make sure you engage in activities that relax your nervous system. So yoga, massage, Qigong, Falun Gong, any energy practice, Reiki, get Reiki treatments, whatever works for you, whatever resonates.